I'm recording an emergency podcast without my husband because he's gone this week working somewhere out of town, and I have such a dilemma that I feel like I needed to share and get your advice and also do a public service announcement to please stop poisoning your neighbors. I have been struggling because right before we left on our trip, I saw that our closest neighbor, who we don't have any neighbors that we like directly share any type of like land with except for one. And this one neighbor, their house is not that close to us, but we do share a fence line that they're just our closest neighbor that we have. And before we left on our trip, I saw that they had pest control at their house, which is a crime. I just can't believe that anyone has pest control still. So that kind of made me freak out, but I got over it and was like, there's nothing I can do. I really wanted to go and talk to them and ask hey, what are you having troubles with, and see if I can give you a more healthy solution. But we were about to leave, so I just let it go, and I trusted that like my there's more to this than just the chemicals itself. You're not automatically going to die or get cancer. Obviously, that from the millions of people all the time that are I've been doing this for so many years and I've never got sick, I've never been unhealthy. So there's more to it, and the more I dwell on it, the worse it would get. So I just chose to let it go. I don't see it all the time. That was the first time I'd seen it. So maybe they had a one-time thing. Let me get over it. I trust that the land will heal. But then this morning at 6 a.m., I'm doing yoga, and my dogs are on our little back porch, and they start barking a little bit, but not crazy, because they recognize my neighbor. She was out on our fence line spraying weeds, and I just took a little peek barely closer, and she's spraying with Roundup. And this just kind of sends me over the edge, because you guys know that everything we're doing at our house, growing our own food, the fence line we share with her, that is where our chickens go at night. And so they were still locked in there. We're growing our own wine grapes to make wine for the specific reason that we want it to be chemical free, and especially glyphosate free. And it's just kind of crazy that even with all that we've done, I can't control what our neighbors do, and that is going to it gets into the air, flies onto our plants. Our garden is really close to that fence, and flies onto our chickens. Our dogs are outside, and it also is going to sink into the soil, and they are a little bit above the hill than us, so it's going to sink down into our soil. And it's just funny, and not funny at all to me, but when there's just I think I talked about it a little bit last week, that, or maybe 2 weeks ago, I can't remember, but I said a lot of things that go on in the world, it just doesn't affect me. And a lot of people can do whatever they want in their own homes, and it just doesn't affect me. And now I feel I'm really being asked to question that, because this, I feel is affecting me, but at the same time, I can't do anything really. I went on ChatGPT and asked what do I do if my neighbor's poisoning me by having pest control and spraying Roundup on our fence line. And of course it's just funny, giving you 10 steps, but all of it is basically nothing. And maybe go talk to them. I told Levi about it, and because I obviously hate confrontation, but I'm it's a big deal. So I like wouldn't be against getting over my fear and like going and talking to them and saying like, hey, like, why are you using this? Like, can I ask like what's going on? Why are you spraying that? And why are you getting pest control? And then like, have you tried this instead, and give like an alternative? But Levi told me not to do that because he doesn't want problems with the neighbors. So it's kind of tricky, and I really honestly don't know what to do. I have no solutions, but I thought I would use this as an important moment to maybe like bring it up, because I also realized like these people are in their 60s. It's just a husband and wife, and that's why I was down to go talk to them, because what if they like really just don't know that it's poisonous? I don't really, in my reality, I can't see how you wouldn't know that. But of course, they've grown up with it and nothing came of it. So maybe they don't know. And so if there's anyone that doesn't know, like the dangers of chemical pesticides, the whole reason we buy organic food, the whole reason we don't buy food from grocery stores is because we don't want them to be sprayed with chemical pesticides. So the fact that people are spraying that in their own home just to get some weeds that are next to their flowers, which weeds are also flowers. So we have the same weeds as her. She grows flowers and she has the most well-groomed land, and she has a small backyard. It's much smaller than ours. And it's so well-groomed. It's like she is acting like she lives in a like cul-de-sac neighborhood that is like completely artificial, but we live in nature. So we have pine needles falling all the time. We are in the mountains, and she every single day is raking up the pine needles and tossing them over the fence line to our neighbor behind us. And she like tosses her dog's poop onto the neighbor's property because he has like 5 acres, and he's talked to her about it. And she's just like, no, I don't know. That's not for me. When it's so clear, she just clears her land because it's a small piece of land, and she pushes it to everybody else. So she pushes her pine needles to our front yard and to the other neighbor on her other side, and then throws the pine needles in her backyard to the neighbor behind us. It's just like interesting to me, because if you want an artificial, like completely well-groomed piece of land on your home, that was so the like dream. I know for like growing up and like in the 90s and 80s probably, that was like the dream, to live on like the cute cul-de-sac and like the Desperate Housewives, Wisteria Lane, and everything is just well groomed, flowers blooming, no weeds, the lawn is mowed. But we chose to live up here. Like Levi chose to live up here before I met him, but we chose to stay when we got married and everything, because we like how we are just immersed in nature, and it just makes no sense to me to live that life and at the same time trying to micromanage and spray weed killer next to your flowers. You claim to care about your flowers, but you're spraying right next to them. I don't know how it doesn't kill the flowers too. It's just like really something to think about as we've gotten more into this, of like trying to do more of like a homestead vibe. It just makes me think a lot about like the type of home that I want, and it's not at all that like artificial, like super well groomed, fake lawn type of home, that like the perfect square bright green lawn that kids can run on. I want like land, let nature really take it over, and then have your spaces where you have your garden beds, and we're trying to do a food forest in the front that's a little bit more wild but still kind of contained, like little fenced in areas for animals. But it's not making sense to me why these people are using this. And it's putting me in a spot because I'm having to remember that there's really no physical product or thing that is going to kill you straight up. Although there's like many lawsuits against Roundup, it's probably one of the worst. But there's not like one thing that's like that will kill you if your neighbor's doing this. It's really going to be all about like my energy and how much I worry about it. So I'm doing this now because I'm choosing to not worry about it. But at the same time, I'm also realizing that maybe our plan of trying to get more land, like we want like 100 acres or more, and maybe we need to bump that up earlier than 3 years or whatever we were talking about, because it's just, I cannot control other people, but I can control where I live and how I respond to things. And that does mean like, yeah, realistically, I can't just move out today, which I want to. I wanted to when I saw the pest control there like last month or 2 months ago. And then now that I see this, it's like, let's move out. But realistically, I get that. We can't just move out immediately. And I do like where we are, but I have to choose to love where we live and also know that it is my choice to live here. So if I don't love it, then we can make plans to go somewhere else. So nobody is like trapped. I'm not a victim to my neighbor. I do think she's trying to kill me, but maybe unintentionally. And there's just, all I can do is not worry about it and continue to take care of what I have control over and really see like how I pour into my land and how it like responds in return. And I think like the energetic of what I put in can even combat these crazy harsh chemicals. So, oh, I never did a cheers. Sorry, we're kind of like deep into this. Cheers to, I hope you have a glass of wine, have something amazing. Cheers to not poisoning your neighbors, being a good neighbor, and not poisoning yourself. Okay, cheers. I don't know if that makes sense, but I wanted to go into like, okay, say you are still using pest control, because I want to put my dad on blast. I know he doesn't listen to this, but if he ever does, I'm putting you on blast. He came over for Easter, which was like not that long ago, and admitted to me that even he, who is totally into like the high quality of what he eats, growing his own food. They have a great garden. He wants to get chickens, but also they have like a well-groomed neighborhood that like probably can't rip up the lawn. But like they really do care about their health, my parents, and do amazing work with that. So I was shocked. My dad still had pest control coming like recently, and he said he only recently canceled it because he started noticing that he did like get headaches from it, and that maybe I'm not crazy, that it is truly terrible for you. So that kind of shocked me, and so I'm trying to remember that while I'm dealing with this. My neighbors are older than my parents, so it is like, it honestly, I couldn't believe it that with everything he's done for many years to take care of his health, that was still even a thing you're spending money on. It's really crazy. So maybe it just hasn't reached their consciousness yet that it's not okay. And it's also not really up to me to be like someone to like force it or like create hostility because they aren't living a way that I agree with. So I want to give like what to do instead. So if you're like so used to pest control or spraying weeds around your backyard with Roundup, there are like other things to do, much safer things to do, especially if you have pets, especially if you have kids or grandkids, just especially if you don't want to die of cancer. And again, I'm not trying to like be crazy. It's not, this is going to be the thing that will kill you. It's this packed on with worry and like a focus on the fact that it's poisonous and continuing to do it. So the first step is realizing that it's not safe, and then you can stop. And if you are having trouble with insects, I guess, for like pest control, the only thing, like, I've not really had this issue before, but I have had, like, my biggest fear in life is millipedes and centipedes, and we don't have, thank God, oh my gosh, I would, like, cry if there was, like, an infestation. We don't have that, but in the winter, there will sometimes be one that comes in the house, like, 3 times throughout the winter, and that freaked me out. So I found that like there's certain natural things you could do to keep them out. So you can like sprinkle cayenne pepper on like your windowsills and where you think they're getting in, keep them out. If you're having trouble with ants, you can use diatomaceous earth all around like the perimeter of your home and in like corners wherever they go or wherever they get in. Same on like your yard outside. If you're growing a garden and you have ants, you can use diatomaceous earth. That honestly, that you can use for a lot of things. But there's obviously thousands and thousands of variations. Like, I don't know your situation. I don't know why you're using pest control, whoever is. So if you are, especially, or if you ever come across like a herbicide or a pest, weed or pest problem, the cleaning supplies, the only cleaning brand that I ever buy, which I don't have any right now because the only cleaning supplies I use most of the time is just vinegar or baking soda or Castile soap because that's cheaper. But sometimes whenever I want to buy like a specific soap, the concentrate that you could use for everything, or dishwasher tablets or stuff like that, the only cleaning brand I use is Branch Basics. And I really love this brand because they have on their website, like, they're really not just about like selling their products, but they do a lot of education around health and toxins and stuff. So there's a blog post that if you're on my newsletter, if you're signed up, I will send the link to this post, but it's completely like comprehensive alternatives to pesticides and herbicides and fungicides and milicides and sanitizers and disinfectants. You can literally go on this post, and I'm like scrolling through, and it's like in order, alphabetical. Ants, this, and this. Bed bugs, this, and this. Carpenter ants, carpet beetles, centipedes, chiggers, earwigs, fleas, ticks. It's in alphabetical order, going through every single animal, every single insect that could ever be a problem, and how to deter them from your home naturally in a way that is really safe and not going to hurt your health. So that's important. I think my neighbors have ants, or had. So I really wish I could just be like, hey, can I buy you some diatomaceous earth, and can you try that instead? But Levi doesn't want me to do that. He's afraid that they'll call the POA on us for whatever we're doing too. And then for weeds, you can just put vinegar, because she has one of those like sprayers that's like you attach it to the can, and you attach it to the jug or whatever, and then it sprays out. If you know what I'm talking about, it like you spray your weeds. So you could just put vinegar and spray that, and it will help. Sometimes if that doesn't work, you could do vinegar and salt and dish soap and mix that up and then spray it on the weeds, and that works. Like, it's a bit stronger than the vinegar by itself. So vinegar, sea salt, and dish soap, and spray that. Much better than Roundup, like way better. So I wanted to offer that to my neighbor too, but we'll see. If it comes up, I am gonna just say like, hey, why are you using that? Have you tried this? So I just think that's important. I never really thought I would come on here and talk about like pest control and stuff because it seems like the most obvious. The other thing Levi told me was apparently it's illegal to spray Roundup like that without wearing like gloves and a mask. And my neighbor she had nothing. She was wearing a t-shirt, no mask, no gloves, just spraying Roundup and breathing that straight back in. I think that is like insane. I don't know how she didn't pass out. So I just think we need to really think about the main thing I like come back to is, why do you have to kill the weeds? Like, is it truly hurting your land, or is it an aesthetic thing? And if it's an aesthetic thing, it kind of depends where you live. You have to make a judgment call, but I want to live somewhere where like weeds are a part of the ecosystem. And if you look into regenerative farming, this is so important because the more you spray, so they're actually having problems with this in like the big food companies, like where they monocrop big areas of land. They spray those so heavily that now weeds have like been created by Earth that are so insane, so sharp. I'm trying to remember the podcast that I heard this on and where I looked it up, but I can't remember right now off the top of my head. Weeds were formed by Earth that were so strong and so like thick and like thorny that they like actually ripped up and broke the like machines that they would go through the land with. So they would have to go by hand, like 5 people, and rip them out by hand. And these new weeds that are being sprouted, they're in response to what you've done to the land. Not you, but whoever's taking care of that land and not caring for it well. So whatever you have growing is a reflection of what you're doing to take care of it. So if you have a few weeds that are like coming into your garden, just pull them out. But if you're not allowing any weeds at all on your whole land, you have to think about like why, because everything in nature has a purpose that is really important. And if you're into this stuff, I really like the documentary The Biggest Little Farm. I think it's on HBO. But they like were just a cute little family that started a regenerative farm from scratch, and they didn't know anything about it, and they just had to learn along the way, and they noticed that. So like they're growing fruit trees, and they're trying to grow everything, and then they would get like an infestation of snails, and like so bad that like the whole trees would be covered in snails. And instead of spraying them, because then that poisons the food that you're growing, they then got ducks, and ducks eat the snails. And then like it's just, so the thing with regenerative farming is nature always has a way of balancing out. So even if you do have ants in your garden beds, or even if you do have weeds taking over your flowers, the more you add, the more diversity you add, the more it's going to balance out. So you might have a couple of ants that eat like 2 of your tomatoes, but you have enough that it doesn't matter. They're not going to be an infestation and eat every single thing there if you're putting in enough diversity all around. So I'm thinking what the best course of action is: plant more things, get more animals if you can, and just pull out a couple of weeds that are not in a good spot. But if you're like just killing everything, then you have to realize that you're making a choice to live in a sterile, artificial environment, and the effects of that are so much more than just what like you would think. The effects of that go beyond like anything I could say about like chemicals are bad for your health or eating fast food is bad for your health. It's just different. If you're living as a human being in an artificial environment for your entire life, that has like spiritual, emotional, and physical effects that are long term. So that's your choice. But I'm just kind of losing my mind because we chose to live in nature, and there's someone out here trying to pretend like this is downtown Sacramento in like a little neighborhood. I don't understand. So I think that's kind of it for my rant. I don't know if that ended up making sense with like regenerative farming. I'm not an expert. All I know is that it's not ever a good idea to like poison earth, because then you are poisoning yourself. And I think it's just really silly how in our culture, basically it's totally fine to poison everyone and everything, except for what I've noticed, except for pregnant people. They only care about fetuses, but they don't care about humans that are alive on earth. They don't care about animals or nature. The reason I bring this up is because that's something that I've been dealing with lately. Like I went to the dentist and I didn't want the x-ray radiation for my like exam, because I still have like a regular dentist that I have once a year, which I'm trying to find maybe something else, but I didn't want to deal with the x-ray, so I said I don't want it because I'm pregnant, even though I'm not. And that's like totally fine. They're like, oh, no, it is safe, but thank you for that's okay. Like, and they're totally nice about it. But and I didn't mean to lie, but I just did. And if I would have just said, I don't want the radiation because I don't want to be poisoned myself, then I would have got grief. I might have got kicked out of there because they have a treatment plan that they have to do for everyone. And so the same thing, I went on like a flight and I said I don't want to go through the scanner because I'm pregnant. And people are just so nice about that. And I told Levi, I was like, what if I tell our neighbors I'm pregnant and it's not safe to like spray chemicals in like on the right next to the food that we're going to be eating? And he said not to do that. But people are really nice about that. But it just doesn't make any sense to me. Like, why any level of poison, even weeds, because that is you. We are nature. And you're poisoning yourself if you're choosing to do that. And it's going to return the favor back to you. So just something to think about. I know I can sound crazy at times, but if that made any sense or if you somewhat agree, let me know. If not, do you, whatever. I'm glad you're not my neighbor if you don't agree with me. So yeah, anyways, cheers to taking care of your land and focusing on creating the healthiest life based on what you have control over, and just kind of forget the rest. It's okay. Cheers.